I talked about Bob Jansson, the fire boss, trying to get a look at this fire. Up until about 5 o'clock, when he gets put off at the mouth of the gulch, all he can see from the river, because it's down there in the bottom of the canyon, is this plume of smoke. He has no idea what it's burning in, which way it's moving, etc. So he gets put off by himself at the mouth of the gulch and proceeds to walk the same path or a similar path as we did this morning, coming right up the bottom. This is about the point he gets to and realizes that there's nobody up above him. The smoke jumpers are not up here, and what he heard and thinking it was voices and a tool on a rock up here was just a fire and trees exploding, etc., and turns around and heads back. But this is about as far as he got. Again, he still couldn't see the fire, which is back up here on the ridge to the south above us. So he turns around, dives through the smoke and flames, and escapes and gets back down to the boat and back to the fire camp there at Merriweather. The other thing to point out here is this is where we begin to see this rim rock right on the skyline here. That's not the top of the ridge. So if you walked right up this slope and you encounter that wall, you've got to find a crack or some opening in the thing to get over the top. This is the same thing that Sallee, Rumsey, Dieter, and Hellman face further on up when they get up the Gulch. But you can begin to see, get a feel for what an impediment that would be. Smoke, panic, sweat in your eyes, you're short of breath, your legs are leaden, and you run into this wall. Two guys go down canyon, one guy goes up canyon, and the guy that goes up never finds a hole and dies. Elden Dieter there on his 19th birthday. And Sallee and Rumsey, in fact, do find a hole and go over to the other side and are rescued there. The other thing I'll point out here, we're going to pass Harry Gisborne, the pioneer fire researcher. We're going to pass his monuments right up the trail here, another 75 feet. Just understand that's not where Harry died. He died probably a quarter of a mile from here on a talus slope that runs right down into the Missouri when they were going back. He and Bob were headed back to the rig. But when it came time to place his monument, a couple of things. Nobody could agree where he died. Some said over there, and some said over there, down there, whatnot. And even if we could have agreed on where he suffered that fatal heart attack, it would have been in a place that no one would ever see the monument where it was. So in 1997, we decided to put it here so that people would see it. My main reason for stopping here is this. I can't say bowl, but this is the general area here where the firebrands come off the fire and land in this grass and brush. If you look up here on the ridge line, you see the skyline here, ridge line too, two pine trees and a big dead snag with a top broken out of it. That's approximately the point where Wag Dodge, the foreman, comes up over that finger ridge, which of course screens them being able to look down in here and on down to the Missouri down here. He comes up to the top of that and sees that there are 5 separate spot fires in this general area here that are burning together and following the southwest winds coming right at him and the crew. So this is the spot. And, you know, when we talk about firebrands, we're talking about pine cones, we're talking about small pieces of limb, pine needle, etc., that are picked up when this fire blows up and are carried, even though it's a quarter of a mile, are carried with the winds. And when it gets over here, down into the bottom, they drop out and fall in here. There are, as with a lot of events in history, always the conspiracy theorists. And I'll throw those out here. A couple of years back, some smoke jumpers, former smoke jumpers, came up with this idea that Bob Jansson, the district ranger, the fire boss, had actually set these fires as an arson. According to the conspiracy theorist, his motivation was, A, he knew he would have a big fire on his district, and as the fire boss, that he'd get credit for this large fire up here. Also, his district would accumulate all the jumper cords, shovels, Pulaskis, and tools that would come to the forest and to the ranger district. And so he would get to keep all that. And so he sets this place on fire. And according to them, he murdered these 13 guys. It's pretty much without basis. I mean, in fact, but, you know, conspiracy theorists get on ahead and they're going to pursue that, you know, right to the end. At the time that was prevalent in the fire community, I felt it was incumbent upon me to say, no way. That it was a lot of hearsay, that one of the spot fires is quite a ways up this slope, and then other ones are back and forth across here. But nobody was here when those spot fires start. So when you look at the old map that was prepared by the Forest Service in 1950, and you see these spot fires on the map here, they're somebody's best guess of where the actual spot fires ignited and then spread together. He gets put off the boat at 5:02, so it's 5 o'clock when he works his way. You know, after 5 o'clock, the fire is already down here in the bottom of the gulch when he comes up, and burning very intensely. I mean, temperature, fuels, it's all just primed. He encounters the fire somewhere down the gulch, but stays in the thing and then at some point hears that metal clank and thought he heard voices. But I mean, there's fire on all around him, and it just becomes way too intense, the intensity of the fire down here in the bottom. He decides what he heard was not people, and just assumes in his own mind that Jim Harrison and the smoke jumper crew have gone north into the next drainage over into Elkhorn Creek over here to escape the fire, not knowing what the reality was here. So he turns around back down, but it's intensely burning, and he literally has to run and just dive through this flame and smoke. And he just breathes too much gas and smoke and passes out briefly, comes to, pukes, on down the trail he goes, and you know, not without a scratch on him. But yeah, kind of foolish when you think about it, going into the fire all by yourself, no radio, you know. But that's the kind of guy Bob was. I mean, not necessarily foolish, but he was a leader, and you know, he took his job quite seriously, I think.
And so the main fire is still up here.
Yes. Yeah, quarter mile away. Yeah, creeping back into the wind down slope, creeping off the south slope down into here, and the same thing on the other side into Meriwether. But basically, the wind and the head of the fire are all going off to the east and northeast, pushed by the winds. I think, and I don't have a great background to probably be saying this, but the forest has this large black and white photo that was taken from probably about where the interstate and where the exit ramp is there, looking back up into this country. And there is a vertical plume, my guess is goes to 30,000 feet. It is awesome. Taken at 5 o'clock when Bob is coming right up this bottom. My educated guess is that climbs to a height, and that air cools rapidly in this unstable environment and collapses and pushes. That's one of the things they talk about this fire, how it spread in every direction. And that's my best educated guess. Physically, what happens there is that column collapses and just mushrooms this fire out. Counts for the firebrands, winds, etc., that push this down here.